Chapter 9 Trust.
Alright, every pony, let's go over the plan one more time.
Applejack looked up from her saddlebags as Twilight spoke. The train car they were in was small and cramped with the 5 ponies huddled in it. Although every worker on the train to and from the frozen north was part of the rebellion, normal civilians still were known to use it from time to time. Applejack, Twilight, and the 3 new rebels were all tucked in a small car at the front, out of sight of the other passengers and out of the way of the crew.
Twilight, we went over it like a bazillion times before we left.
Rainbow Dash groaned, causing Applejack to shoot her a look. Thankfully, Rarity elbowed the Pegasus in the side, and Twilight either didn't notice or didn't care, as she jumped right into her lecture and paced in small circles.
Alright, the most important thing Rainbow Dash and I discovered is that once the elements are disconnected from their bearers, they can't be moved more than 50 feet. Assuming Celestia being sent away disconnected them to her, they have to still be somewhere in the castle.
If they even exist, Applejack grumbled under her breath. Twilight seemed to hear, however, and shook her head.
No, we found enough books on them to confirm their existence. They're definitely real, and I think I can make a spell to move them out of the forest. The problem is that we don't know how to use them.
She stopped pacing and turned to fully address the other ponies.
That's why we have to take this whole plan carefully.
Applejack sat up straighter, but noticed with annoyance that Rainbow rolled her eyes as Twilight once again repeated what had been confirmed last night.
The plan is that my brother, Big Mac, and Sakura will take a group of ponies, as well as some of our dragon allies, and launch an attack on Canterlot. A small one, mind you, because while Nightmare Moon resides in the Everfree, Canterlot is still where most legal action takes place. So if attacked, Nightmare Moon will have to go see to it personally. And while she's gone,
Rainbow piped up,
we swoop into her castle, take the elements, and send her back to the moon. No!
Twilight said, stomping a hoof on the floor.
No rash decisions, no improvisation. This is my operation, and so we're doing it my way. Understood?
There were murmurs of agreement with yet another exaggerated eye roll from Dash, and Twilight relaxed back into a steady pace.
Rainbow is right about one thing, though. The team is going to sneak into the castle and take the elements of harmony so we can study them and decide our next move. As I've said, I figured out a spell that should let us move them for a bit, and with Rainbow and Pinkie...
She coughed into her hoof and then continued.
And Pinkie's knowledge of the inner workings of the castle, the element should be easy to find. Yes, we have all our bases covered. Everything will work out perfectly.
She spun abruptly on the spot and looked back at the other 4 with large, shaky grin.
So, any questions?
A pink hoof rose into the air.
Yes? How does dragon adoption work?
Pinkie asked, blinking curiously up at Twilight. Applejack raised a brow at that, and Rainbow smacked herself in the face. For her part, though, Twilight looked at the Earth Pony with pursed lips before slowly replying.
I'm not sure. Even with dragons helping us, they're still a private species and don't tell ponies much about their society. I assume it would be roughly the same as it is here, though.
Pinkie nodded, seemingly content with that answer, and Twilight turned her attention back to the rest of the group.
Any other questions?
The train stopped. The train had been rumbling out of the frozen north at such a steady pace that Applejack almost forgot they were moving. She was keenly made aware that they had been when the train jerked to a halt so suddenly it threw all of the ponies off their hooves.
Ah! What the hell was that?
Applejack asked, rising back to his standing position. The question was directed at Twilight, but the unicorn didn't seem to hear her as she rushed to the train window and peered out. Twilight went pale, and her eyes grew wide as she stared at something outside the car.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Not good! Not good! Twilight, darling, what's wrong?
Rarity asked, coming to stand beside Applejack.
Why did we stop? Every pony get in the back. Go!
Twilight said, ignoring Rarity's question and shoving the 4 ponies into the small, secluded area at the back of the car. It was barely more than 2 small walls closing off the back door, but the 5 ponies could squeeze behind them and be hidden from anyone in the train car.
What's the matter?
Rainbow echoed Rarity as she was shoved in the tight space.
Ow! Twilight, what in the hell is happening?
Twilight poked her head around the corner before ducking back to face the others.
So, technically the rebellion owns this railway station, right? Most of the staff and the conductor are rebels, but we can't have Nightmare know that, of course.
A smile stretched across her face and her eyes flicked back and forth nervously as the others silently gazed at her.
Occasionally, Nightmare checks the trains. All the trains. For smuggled goods or, fugitives.
Slowly, the others donned looks of horror as the news set in.
They're searching the train for us?
Pinkie squeaked.
And you never thought to tell us about that beforehand? You didn't think to have anywhere for us to hide?
Rarity hissed at Twilight. Twilight glared back at her.
They only do these checks a few times a month, and the last one was just a week ago.
She ground her teeth and looked away.
I should have accounted for them to pick it up with the stir you guys made, but I didn't, okay? So we're going to get stopped before it even gets started just because you forgot to mention there were train checks?
Rainbow squawked, her voice just barely a whisper. Twilight turned to scowl at her.
Well, you were in the night guard. Shouldn't you of all ponies know about this? I was Nightmare's personal bodyguard. I didn't do train checks. Would y'all shut up?
Applejack spat at the arguing ponies. They immediately went quiet and looked at Applejack guiltily. In the new silence, the unmistakable sound of hoofsteps and muttered voices could be heard at the other end of the car, past the closed door. Suddenly, there was the unmistakable sound of the far sliding door opening, and the voices got much clearer. Doesn't look like anyone's in here. I was sure I heard something. Do a quick sweep, just in case. If you find any pony suspicious, report it to the commander immediately. Yes, sir, came the reply, only seconds before the door closed and the other pony's hoofsteps could be heard walking away. Applejack's heart clenched at the two words the stallion had given his officer. Applejack knew that voice. She knew that stallion. The fact that he was a soldier wasn't too surprising. Ponies did what they could to get by these days, but having him here was enough to steal Applejack's breath. The clip-clop of the stallion's hooves echoed in Applejack's ears as he slowly swept the train car. The others were holding their breath in a desperate attempt to keep quiet, but Applejack knew it was hopeless. The stallion would only have to peek into their small hiding spot, and then one cry would bring all the other soldiers down on them. Applejack could knock him out before he shouted. One hit, and he'd be down before he'd even seen her. Then they'd have to hide him, though. Hide him and hope no one would have to check on him, which was a foolish hope. The soldiers would just leave with one missing in action, not to mention what they'd do with him once he woke up. They were all dead. Unless...
If you perhaps drop the walls you so carefully built and actually trust some pony almost completely, you'll find that they are so much better than they first appear.
Applejack snorted under her breath. She hadn't fully trusted a pony that wasn't her siblings or her granny in years. Trust wasn't something to be given out freely nowadays. No, they could knock him out and then run for it. They'll probably get far enough before anyone noticed. They could do it. Applejack stepped out from behind the small half-wall that was hiding her and her friends.
Hey there, Brayburn.
The yellow stallion stopped short, halfway through the train car and stared at her with wide eyes.
Cousin AJ?
Applejack could practically feel Twilight's panic, for Brayburn's steady gaze clued her that none of the others had emerged.
Hi, cuz. How you been?
AJ asked with what she hoped was a friendly smile. Brayburn frowned back and took a hesitant step forward.
I've been fine. What are you doing on this train, cousin? This is coming from the frozen north. What in Equestria were you doing there?
This was it. She could get out of this now. She just had to lay a lie clever enough for Brayburn to believe, and then he'd walk out of here like nothing was the matter. She could do it. She'd done it before.
I'm coming back from the rebellion headquarters.
That was definitely the sound of a jaw hitting the floor.
I'm on my way to rid Nightmare Moon's castle.
Applejack just didn't know if it was Twilight's, Rainbow's, Brayburn's, or even her own jaw.
What?
Rayburn stuttered, blinking at her like she was the sun coming back.
Applejack, are you saying you're a traitor? You know I should turn you in for that.
Applejack grimaced, a little twitch that she could have hidden but chose not to, and slowly approached her cousin.
I know. And I know it's a stupid thing to tell you, but it's true. I've been fighting against her for the longest time, just trying to make some ponies' lives better. But now...
She had reached him now and was able to gently lay a hoof on Brayburn's shoulder. The stallion didn't move away. He just looked at her with confused and even scared eyes.
Now I have a chance to help everyone. Right behind me are some ponies who know how to defeat Nightmare Moon once and for all and save our world. But we need something for that to happen.
She smiled at him, a true and trusting smile. It was held down by nervousness, but that didn't make it any less genuine.
I need you to back us up, cuz. We can't take every soldier swarming this here train, and it's too far from anything to run. The only way we could go stop Nightmare Moon is if you bail us out.
He frowned at her, eyes narrowing slightly and darting to the floor.
I don't know, Applejack. If they ever find out that I lied to them, then I hope you attack Nightmare Moon. They won't,
Applejack said immediately.
None of us will ever tell we were on this here train car. But you're still scared, I know, Brayburn. Trust me, I know. But we could save everyone from being scared if you just do this one thing. Please.
She put her hoof under his chin and gently lifted until they were once again eye to eye.
Please, Brayburn. I'm putting all my faith in you. I'm scared of what we're doing too, but I need to do this. You need to do this. I know we don't see each other much anymore, but please don't make me be wrong about you.
Brayburn stared into her eyes for a good few seconds as Applejack stood. The four ponies in the back held their breath. Finally, Brayburn broke eye contact and walked back across the train car.
I trust you, cuz.
I'm gonna make your trust in me hold out, so why don't you make mine?
Go stop Nightmare Moon, or Celestia help me, I'll bring it up at every family reunion.
Applejack chuckled, a shaky thing, an honest thing.
Don't you worry none, then. That's a fate worse than anything Nightmare can dish out.
Brayburn simply nodded, a silver of a smile flashing on his yellow muzzle, before he turned to leave the car when Applejack stopped him.
Hey, cuz, thank you. Thank you.
Brayburn smiled at her.
Thanks for being honest with me, cuz.
And then he was gone.